our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. Call-in numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. Today is Sunday, November 7th, 2021. Welcome to the African History Network show. All right, so I want to go to, we're going to go to clip number one here, Jalen. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, November 5th, and we discussed a number of different topics, but we talked about the opening statements in the trial of the three white men in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. Some people refer to the trial as the McMichaels Bryan trial. Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and William Bryan. So some people refer to it as the McMichaels Bryan trial. But we're going to go to clip one here. And I also talked about the citizens arrest law that they are invoking as the legal reason that gave them the legal authority to try to detain Ahmaud and chase him. And they chased him for 5 minutes. Okay, they chased him for 5 minutes. Let's go to clip one, Jalen.
For what you did to my son.
Let's not go to Georgia, where opening arguments began in the murder trial of three white men accused of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. Disproportionate white jury is here in the case 11-1. 11 whites, 1 African American. Prosecutor Linda Demakowski says the 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery was killed based on the defendant's assumptions, not on evidence that he was a burglar.
We're supposed to see what you just saw was Travis McMichael raising up his shotgun. The Remington 12 gauge. Perhaps for no reason because where is Mr. Arbery? Look how far Mr. Arbery is. Mr. Arbery's under attack. He's being driven forward by Mr. Bryan in his pickup truck. He's running away from this pickup truck. It's already tried to hit him 4 times toward McMichael.
Yet the defense said that no, they believe the burglary was taking place and they were simply trying to stop it.
Ahmaud Arbery face to face for the first time. At Larry Inglis's house and then in Larry Inglis's house. He's had a first-hand encounter. He knows that Ahmaud Arbery has been lurking around that house for no legitimate reason. Not authorized to be there. He's not working on the house. He's not doing anything but plundering around the house. He knows stuff has been stolen. But it's probably these things have a mind of their own. He knows stuff has been stolen. Because Larry English has told everybody that. He knows this guy has the audacity to go in the house despite knowing people are around and watching him. He knows he's possibly armed because he made that move to his left-hand pocket, waist. He has probable cause to believe a burglary has been committed.
This theme is simple, and that is they want to use Georgia's Civil War era law of citizens arrest to justify Arbery's killing. Now, it is a father and son, Greg and Travis McMichael. They armed themselves and pursued Arbery after spotting him running in their neighborhood. Their neighbor, William Rowdy Bryan, joined the chase and recorded the cell phone video of Travis McMichael shooting Arbery at close range. This, Kelly, is going to be, again, first of all, you would think it's going to be a slam dunk for the prosecution, but the reality is you have these folks who believe in this stand your ground notion and that could be very problematic when it goes to the jury. But I would dare say the prosecution has started off on a very good note.
I would think so too, especially when you heard defense's opening statement about what their theory of the case is. Like you said, the antiquated law regarding how private citizens' arrest is concerned. I just don't think it'll hold much weight, if any, especially when you're using terminology that is actually catered and really reserved for law enforcement, such as probable cause and, things like that. I mean, you're talking about private citizens. Probable cause isn't necessarily applicable to private citizens, it's applicable to police and their rationale as to why they can engage with a private citizen as opposed to private citizens engaging with other private citizens.
All right, we're going to pause it right there. We'll pick this up on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Stand by. How's everybody doing? Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. Stand by. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 1 minute.
The Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 7th, 2021. Call-in numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. So Friday, November 5th, I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered, I was a panelist once again on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'm usually a panelist on each Friday. And one of the topics we discussed, in addition to the October jobs report that came out on Friday, 531,000 new jobs created in the month of October. In addition to that, in addition to the Tuesday election results and former Governor Terry McAuliffe losing in Virginia, okay. In addition to that, we talked about opening statements in the McMichaels Bryan trial, the 3 white men who were on trial for killing Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. Right before the break, I was sharing an excerpt of that clip with you. We were listening to Attorney Kelly Bethea, who was a panelist, one of my co-panelists on the show on Friday. Let's go back to this clip, Jalen.
The fact of the matter is, had they just minded their own business, Arbery would still be alive today. But another note that I just wanted to say, after looking at the footage of the trial today, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have yet to see a defense attorney for cases like this not be a white man. And I just feel like that's telling in cases like this, where the only representation that remotely can ascribe to that kind of rationale can get into the head of a defendant in cases such as this is white men. I have yet to see a white woman. I certainly haven't seen black men or black women or any other person of color or any other gender represent people like the defendants in this case, even Chauvin and the like. And I feel like that should show you just how biased the rationale is for a white man to engage with someone that he doesn't know simply because of the color of their skin.
You know, it is interesting to watch this play out, Ray Baker, because what they're trying to lay out, this whole idea that he was stealing. They have no evidence. They have no evidence that he stole anything. And the prosecutor said they are assuming that's what led them to do what they did. They saw him and said, "Oh, we had burglaries, got to be him."
Yeah, I think the obvious point here is the belief in the inferiority of black people, right? And if we're thinking about whether or not justice will be adjudicated, again, we cannot apply reason or ration to this because white supremacy is irrational, yet it's still pervasive. Because the idea of the people of Glenn County will look at the defense attorney is, I think, brilliant. And the reason I say the defense attorney is brilliant is because the defense attorney is making this case and is saying this subtly. You don't trust black people either. You don't believe black people either. So will you put these folks who don't trust and don't believe black people, but had the audacity to take justice into their own hands in jail for doing what exactly you would do if you were in this position? And this is why when we get verdicts of not guilty and for things that, as Kelly accurately says, looks very, very obvious and guilty, we black folks should not be surprised because this is not an impartial jury that is weighing both sets of case facts as though they're all legitimate and then going to come to a reasonable, rational conclusion. We assume Americans are rational, but again, we know we live in a white supremacist nation and we know that white supremacy is irrational. So why would we ascribe rationality to a community of people who have built the bedrock of their human value on something that is irrational?
Michael?
Roland, I've been covering this pretty much every day on my show, and the citizens arrest law that they're citing, they're using this as grounds for chasing Ahmaud down. It wasn't just from 1863 in Georgia. It was when Georgia was part of the Confederacy. It had committed treason against the U.S., and the law was targeting runaway slaves running away from Georgia plantations to run behind Union line. That's where the law originates from, 1863. Now, there have been, we know the law has been repealed since after Ahmaud's killing, but there have been exceptions in that law regarding business owners, retail, okay, things like this. But you have to have either witness a crime, witness a theft, or have some type of knowledge of a theft, okay? reasonable knowledge of a theft. There was no evidence that he stole anything, committed a crime, anything like this. So, and something very important in the opening statement that lead prosecutor Linda Dunikowski pointed out is that when they confronted Ahmaud, they didn't say citizen's arrest. They didn't say you're under arrest or anything like that. That wasn't said. So if you're claiming that you were making a citizen's arrest, why wouldn't you say citizen's arrest?
Kind of basic. Real basic.
All right, pause right there. Pause right there, Jalen. Okay, very quickly here. The calling number is 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. That was from Friday, November 5th, 2021, Roland Martin Unfiltered. I was a panelist on with attorney Kelly Bethea and professor at Townsend University, Ray Baker, fellow member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. He's a professor of communications at Townsend University. Okay, so we've talked about this here on the show before. The troubling history of citizens' arrests from slave patrols to Ahmaud Arbery to ICE. This is from July 20th, 2020 from fastcompany.com, this article. Okay, and we dealt with this earlier in the week. And I'm going through editing the shows. It's been very busy this week. I was teaching the customer service training class also. What the heck is this here? I was teaching the customer service training class this week as well, so it's been pretty hectic. So South Carolina was the first colony in what is now the U.S. to set up its slave code in 1691 before the practice spread to other areas of the 13 colonies. And we're going to see that in 1863, when Georgia is part of the Confederacy, Georgia committed treason against the Union, took up arms against the Union to maintain slavery, committed treason based upon Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution. So we see that the Georgia State Citizens Arrest Law, which was established in 1863 to allow white people to be able to capture slaves fleeing to join the Union Army during the Civil War, during the Civil War. Now, we know that that law was repealed in May of 2021. If we look up the updates here on, and in present time, it was in present day, it was designed to target shoplifters, things like this. Okay. But you had to have either witness seeing a crime committed, witness seeing the theft committed, or have some type of knowledge of the theft. All right, that this was the actual person that committed the theft. Now, the New York Times has some good updates on this trial. I went through, they had about, 14, 15 pages of updates. I went through and read all of them between Friday and Saturday. Arbery updates, defense lawyer invokes citizens arrest law. Okay, while the defense portrayed the fatal shooting as self-defense, the prosecution took the contrary position that it was the victim, Ahmaud Arbery, who had been under attack. Our reporters are sending news from the courthouse. So New York Times said, like, really, really good, up to the minute updates. I printed out 2 cities. Now, if we go through, we look at, I want to look at here, we're going to go to the article dealing with the prosecution. Now also the first witness that they called. Let's look at this article first here. There was blood all over. The first witness the prosecution called was the police officer who was the first to arrive on the scene. Okay. And let me see, did I pass that up? Okay, that's Linda Dunikowski, the lead prosecutor. That's the defense. Let me see. I want to go to this one here. That's not the one I want. Okay, I have to find it here. There was blood all over. A police officer describes the scene of Ahmaud Arbery's death. He was the first witness. Okay, this right here. There was blood all over. William Duggan, a Glenn County police officer, arrived on the scene of Ahmaud Arbery's shooting. What he observed was gruesome. Officer Duggan said that he saw Ahmaud Arbery lying on the ground with people milling about. Seated on the ground nearby was Travis McMichael, one of the three men accused of Ahmaud's murder. Officer Duggan said, I could see he was covered in blood. There was blood all over. And I remember at some point asking if he was okay. Mr. McMichael replied, no, I'm not. Mr. Duggan testified, I just effing killed somebody. Now, Officer Duggan was the first witness called by the prosecution. On Friday, the opening day of trial, the prosecution played a video of Officer Duggan's body camera footage from the moment he arrived on the scene of the shooting. The defense has tried to keep the video out of the trial, but Judge Timothy R. Walmsley ruled that it could be admitted as evidence. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Stand by. Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Also, if you'd like this type of information, you can support the African History Network. $ the AHN show through Cash App. $ the AHN show through Cash App. And through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. PayPal.me/the AHN show. Stand by. Let me post this information here. Okay, who still needs to register for the online courses I teach on Saturdays and Sundays? From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We do the sessions live. All the classes are recorded. You can go back and watch them over and over again. They're archived. You can go back and watch them anytime. Stand by. As soon as you register, you can watch the class we did today of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by.
Listen up.
Back from break in 1 minute. Stand by. Stand by. I'm on commercial break. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 7th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the classes I teach on Saturday and Sunday. We had a great class today. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, where they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. It's a 10-week online course. I teach it on Sundays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded, so you can go back and watch them anytime. As soon as you register, you can watch the class we did. You still have access to the full class even after the class is over with. So that class is regularly $130, on sale $80. You can watch from around the world, and we know Kwanzaa is coming up also. So we have Kwanzaa sets and kanaras, mats, flags, and more at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It's the homepage of our website. Okay. Right before the break, we were dealing with the opening statements in the Michael Bryan trial, the 3 white men who are on trial for killing Ahmaud Arbery. We were looking at the updates here. We were listening to a segment of Roland Martin Unfiltered when I was on the panel on Friday, November 5th. And we were looking at the updates here from the New York Times. The New York Times has great updates, live updates on the trial. So the first witness the prosecution called was Glenn County Police Officer William Duggan, Duggan, who was the first officer on the scene when Ahmaud was killed. Now, the prosecution played a video of Officer William Duggan's body camera footage from the moment he arrived on the scene of the shooting. The defense had tried to keep the video out of the trial, but Judge Timothy R. Walmsley ruled that it could be admitted as evidence. Now, I'm not exactly sure which footage. I think that's the footage. See, William Roddy Bryan admitted to the officer on the scene that he was chasing Ahmaud and trying to box him in with his vehicle. He admitted this. It's recorded. We've played that video. We've played the audio here on the show before. When the video went viral that William Roddy Bryan recorded, when the video went viral, Bryan then took another stance and said he was just a bystander. He held a press conference. His wife sitting next to him on the couch. He said he was just a bystander, but that's not what he told police when police arrived on the scene. Now, before the video was played in court, Judge Walmsley warned that the images could provoke reaction, and some of Ahmaud Arbery's relatives stepped out of court. So it was a very, very emotional day in court, understandably so. His mother basically stayed. I think she stayed in court like the whole time, and she broke down crying during some of the video of him being killed, understandably so. And if she wants to step out of the court, of course, I mean, I totally understand. If she wants to step out while they're showing that video, I totally understand. And if there are days when she doesn't show up to court and doesn't feel like she can sit through it, totally understand that as well. This is really traumatic. Okay, I want to go to the let's go to clip. I think this is clip 2, Jalen. This is from the Black News Channel. There was a press conference that was held after opening arguments, okay? And you're going to hear family attorney Esley Merritt talk about this is clip 3. We're going to go to clip 3, Jalen. Clip 3. Family attorney for the Ahmaud Arbery family, Esley Merritt, addressed a crowd of reporters after the court had wrapped up for the first day of after the court had wrapped up during opening statements. Opening statements had been made, and it was Ahmaud Arbery's mother's first time watching the full footage of the incident involving her son and the men who allegedly fatally shot him. Okay. And okay, let's go to this clip. I'll talk on the other side of the clip. Let's go to clip 3, Jalen.
We enjoyed the continued support together. County community, the national community, and the international community. Right now, during this very difficult trial and process, that is going to be more important than ever. And so we continue to appreciate the ongoing support from the community. Any other questions? Yes, Ahmaud had been seen in the neighborhood. Ahmaud was an avid jogger. You would listen to the prosecutor's opening statement. She says at some point they plan to introduce his shoes into evidence because the soles had been worn off. I've been in that community before. There's a jogging community there that was familiar with Ahmaud. Everyone knows. His mom will tell you. Everyone who's ever known Ahmaud will tell you that he goes for runs both day and night. The fact that he was present on that property at night is in itself not an indication of any criminal intent. What would be is what he did when he was there, and luckily it was caught on camera. All 4 times that they demonstrated that Ahmaud was seen on camera, not a single time was he ever accused of taking anything, breaking anything. And the defense continued to mischaracterize his presence there as breaking in. You can't break into a place with no windows, doors, or trespassing signs. He was there lawfully upon the property. And their attempt to make that nefarious is, again, an aversion to criminalization of his blackness alone.
The defense team said that he was wondering. What are you making that characterization of that using the board and throughout this open thing?
They borrowed the term from Mr. English, who had property stolen from him, from his boat. Mr. English said that Ahmaud Arbery was never seen taking anything. In fact, there is in fact video of Ahmaud Arbery in the place. I don't see how that is considered plundering, walking casually back and forth, apparently catching his breath, and each time running from the yard in continuance of his jog. So I think it's a mischaracterization, but again, we expect that from the defense.
What do you make of Kevin Goff deferring his opening statement using the Georgia law that even the judge hadn't heard about? Wait till the end.
I thought that was, again, from Mr. Goff. I don't expect professionalism. I don't expect anything standard. He has made some bizarre moves during the entire trial. I expect that to continue.
You wanted a mistrial beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all so much.
Justice for Ahmaud. 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 Justice for Ahmaud.
We just finished watching Attorney Lee Merritt and Ahmaud Arbery's mother addressing a crowd of reporters after court has wrapped for the day. Opening statements have been made. It's the first time that Ahmaud Arbery's mother watched that full video. It's difficult to watch, and particularly after hearing how the defense was characterizing every moment in that video to turn Ahmaud Arbery into a perpetrator rather than the victim. And that seems to be part of their playbook in this case. And sad to say, it is not unique to hear that when Black men are victims, to question their character and their intent. Kelly?
Absolutely. We saw his mother as well as his father, and of course their attorney, Lee Merritt, who wanted to state that criminalization of Ahmaud Arbery and his blackness is what's going on here. And as you stated, and as he stated, it's a mischaracterization of this entire case. And yet they are not surprised. They expected this, but they expect everything from the defense to come forward, but not seeking justice for Ahmaud Arbery at all, but trying to put him on trial.
Okay. Great reporting from the Black News Channel, Friday, November 5th, 2021. Okay. Yes, they're going to, this is what oftentimes in cases, you'll see the defense playing the race card and try to demonize the Africanity or blackness of the person who was killed. They did the same thing. Derek Chauvin's defense attorneys did the same thing in his trial for killing George Floyd. Okay, if we look at this second article here, this is from the live updates from the New York Times. In her opening statement, the lead prosecutor says Ahmaud Arbery was under attack. I watched a lot of the opening statements on Friday, both of the prosecution and the defense. Now, I was cussing at the TV while the defense was lying on Ahmaud and demonizing him. And veteran prosecutor Paul Henderson was on Yodit Tawalde's show, Yodit Tawald show on the Black News Channel on Friday. I shared the statement from Yodit's Instagram account because I talked to her briefly on Thursday on Instagram. And she talked about the Batson challenge, Batson versus Kentucky 1986. We'll share a clip of that on the other side of the break from the Black News Channel. And because veteran prosecutor Paul Henderson was saying he was screaming at the TV also while the defense was presenting their opening statements. But very quickly here, Linda Dunikowski is the lead prosecutor. And in this piece from the New York Times, it goes on to say, Linda Dunikowski said Ahmaud Arbery, an avid runner, had gone into a house under construction in the Satilla Shore subdivision outside of Brunswick, Georgia, and noted that he had been recorded on video cameras inside the house numerous times before, but there was no evidence that he ever took anything. There was no evidence he ever took anything. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. All right, back from break in 4 minutes. All right, how's everybody doing? Okay, back from break in 4 minutes, everybody. Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Stand by. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 7th, 2021. We are live. Still trying to get used to a new time schedule for commercial breaks. It's taking maybe 15 minutes now. All right. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so right before the break, we were talking about the McMichael's Bryan murder trial. 3 white men on trial for killing Ahmaud Arbery. And we were looking at this one article here from the New York Times. This deals with opening statements that took place on Friday. Now, there was no evidence that Ahmaud had been seen on video camera a number of times, surveillance camera, in this house in Satilla Shores under construction. There's no evidence he stole anything, broke anything, took anything. No video evidence of this. He's on video. He's just walking around. Lee Merritt also in one of the, because I saw a few interviews that Lee Merritt did in the past couple of days. Lee Merritt also talked about how Ahmaud Arbery was a carpenter also, okay? And he said he was out on jogs. He would stop by this house that's under construction. And there were numerous people on video who stopped by the house that was under construction. Now, Linda Dunikowski, the lead prosecutor, said Ahmaud Arbery, an avid runner, had gone into a house under construction in Satilla Shores, I should say, in the Satilla Shores subdivision outside of Brunswick, Georgia, and noted that Ahmaud had been recorded on video cameras inside the house numerous times before, but there was no evidence that he ever took anything. There was no evidence he ever took anything. Now, the owner of the house, Larry English, who you heard referenced in the press conference that S. Lee Merritt held, attorney S. Lee Merritt, Larry English had some belongings stolen out of his boat. He's the owner of the house, okay, in Satilla Hills under construction. He had some belongings stolen out of his boat, which was sometimes on the property. But Linda Dunikowski, lead prosecutor, said that Larry English ended up suspecting a different man and woman who were also captured on video of the thefts. There's absolutely no evidence that Ahmaud did anything wrong, stole anything, took anything, broke anything. And come to find out, the property that was missing from the boat, the owner, Larry English, who's also the owner of the house that was under construction that Ahmaud would go into, Larry English suspected a different man and woman of the thefts. Now, was this man and woman, were they chased down for 5 minutes by white men with guns? I'm just curious. The 3 defendants have been concerned about neighborhood break-ins. On January 1st, she noted, Prosecutor Dunikowski noted Travis McMichael's handgun was stolen from his truck. Ms. Dunikowski argued to the jury that Gregory McMichael, the father, Travis McMichael's father, and the fellow defendant had merely seen Ahmaud Arbery running down the street after leaving Larry English's house. When asked by police later if Ahmaud Arbery had broken into the house, Mr. McMichael said, I don't know. He added, quote, my intention was to stop this guy so that he could be arrested or be identified at the very least. But when they caught up with Ahmaud, and after chasing him for 5 minutes, ended up shooting him, Travis McMichael ends up shooting him. They didn't say citizen's arrest. This came out in opening statements. Linda Dunikowski talked about this. They didn't say citizen's arrest. They didn't say you're under arrest. The prosecution's assertion that none of the men had immediate knowledge that a crime was committed appears to be in anticipation of the likelihood that the defense will argue that the men were making a legal arrest under Georgia's citizens arrest law, which was largely repealed by the state legislature after widespread outcry over Ahmaud Arbery's killing. It was repealed in May of 2021. The law previously stated that a private person may arrest someone if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. If the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. Now, I want to go to this article here. We're going to go to clip 3 in just a second, Jalen. I want to go to this article from rawstory.com because there was a ruling that the judge made on some evidence that the defense was trying to keep out of court. All right. Judge rules massive blow to Ahmaud Arbery's killers. Allows their Confederate plates as evidence. On Friday, November 5th, the Daily Beast reported that the trials against the Georgia men who killed Ahmaud Arbery have taken a new turn. The judge is denying their request to exclude a picture of the Confederate license plates one of them sported on their truck. Okay, this was Travis McMichael's truck. He had vanity plates that had the battle flag of Northern Virginia, which is the plates are similar to the Georgia state flag that existed from something like the 1950s into the 2000s. Keep in mind, Georgia has the largest Confederate monument in the country called Stone Mountain. Now, previous reporting indicated that the defense had sought to keep the jurors from being given this information. Quote, the plate depicts an old Georgia flag with a Confederate emblem on it. The flag was in use in the state of Georgia from 1956 until it was officially replaced in the year 2001. Now, Jason Sheffield, an attorney representing Travis McMichael, said on Thursday that a photograph of the truck that shows the flag was seen as a quote unquote a symbol of racism by many during jury selection. Surprise! Well, you're in a former Confederate state. You're in a former Confederate state that took up arms to maintain slavery and took up arms against the Union. And then they decided to make the Confederate battle flag of Northern Virginia as part of the Georgia state flag. So Jason Sheffield, an attorney representing Travis McMichael, said on Thursday the photograph on the truck that shows the flag was seen as a symbol of racism by many during jury selection, reported Andrew Borga. But prosecutor Linda Dunakowski said the plate is something McMichael consciously chose to put on his truck after buying it in January 2020. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. The African History Network show, Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is a call-in number if you have a question or comment. Who still needs to register for the online courses that I teach on Saturday and Sunday? We'll post a link here. Understand the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. It's a 10-week online course. Stand by, back from break in 2 minutes. 3 minutes. Back from break in 3 minutes. How's everybody doing? Stand by, everybody. All right, who do we have here? Stand by. We've got Nawersa, Derek. Who else we have here? Willie, Enoch, Linda. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by. So who has seen The Harder They Fall? Who's seen that on Netflix? We're going to talk about that a little bit here in the second hour. Back from break in 1 minute.
(910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
I'm Brother Michael Imhotep. In the African History Network show, we do recurring events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism means. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's only laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 7th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is a calling number. If you have a question or comment, we're also broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. So if you're watching us on our social media platforms, please give us a thumbs up on the video, turn on live notifications so you know when we go live also. And be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the online courses I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968. I teach that on Saturdays, usually 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And then Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We teach that on Sundays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. All right. So right before the break, we were looking at this this article here from rawstory.com. And this one is dealing with evidence that the judge is allowing to be admitted into the case that is damaging to the defense. The Raw Story has this piece here. Judge deals massive blow to Ahmaud Arbery's killers, allows their Confederate plates as evidence. This is from November 5th, 2021. We know they were trying to keep this out as evidence. These were vanity plates on Travis McMichael's truck. The quote, the plate depicts an old Georgia flag with the Confederate emblem on it. The flag was in use in the state of Georgia from 1956 until it was officially replaced in 2001. Now, Jason Sheffield, an attorney representing Travis McMichael, said on Thursday that a photograph of the truck that shows the flag was seen as a quote unquote symbol of racism, end quote, by many during jury selection, reported Andrew Borga. Okay, I guess these are people who like grew up in America, who think it's a symbol of racism in Georgia. And Georgia has the largest Confederate monument in the country. I guess these are people who like grew up in America, who, you know, are like who are like conscious like they have a brain that actually works. Quote, but prosecutor Linda Dunikowski said the plate is something that Michael consciously chose to put on his truck after buying it in January 2020. He wanted the world to know this, end quote. Out of all the plates you could put on your truck, you chose that one. Out of all the plates you could put on your truck, you chose one with a symbol that was known to be used in opposition to civil rights, a symbol that is known to be used by white supremacists. That's the symbol that you use on your truck. Now, Travis McMichael and his father, Greg McMichael, along with neighbor William Roddy Bryan, pursued Ahmaud Arbery with guns and made a citizens, quote unquote, citizens arrest when they saw him in Brunswick, January 20. And well, it was February 2020, he was killed. And Arbery was shot and killed in the ensuing struggles, February 23rd, 2020. A video of the incident shot by William Roddy Bryan was ultimately made public. They are charged with murder, rightfully so. Now, let me see here. There was okay, I think that was it in this one here. They got all these videos popping up. All right, so you have that. That didn't go well for the defense. If we go back to the article here from, I'm going to go back to the one from New York Times, the live updates from New York Times. So, all right. So we have the owner of the home, Larry English, who ended up suspecting a different man and woman of actually stealing from his boat. And I want to go back to this piece here dealing with the opening statements. The prosecution's assertion that none of the men had immediate knowledge that a crime was committed appears to be in anticipation of the likelihood that the defense will argue that the men were making a legal arrest under Georgia citizens arrest law. Now, lead prosecutor Linda Dunikowski also described in detail how the two McMichaels and the third defendant, their neighbor William Bryan, chased Ahmaud Arbery. Let me go back to the scroll up. Chased Ahmaud Arbery for 5 minutes as he ran through their neighborhood trying to evade them. The McMichaels in one pickup truck and William Bryan in another. She said that in the midst of the chase, Travis McMichael stopped and asked Arbery, where are you running from? What are you doing? Arbery ignored him. He didn't try to attack him. He ignored him. He's trying to get away from him. I'm trying to figure out, at what point did they say citizens arrest? Stop. You're under arrest. Citizens arrest. Because the prosecutor said when they called up to him, they didn't say citizens arrest. William Roddy Bryan was recording. They didn't say citizens arrest. Stop. You're under arrest. Stop in the name of the law. They didn't say anything like that. At some point during the pursuit, she said Gregory McMichael, who was armed with a handgun, said to Ahmaud Arbery, stop or I'll blow your effing head off. That would have been the time to say, stop, citizens arrest. That's not what they said. Language she said that indicated an intent to harm Ahmaud Arbery, not simply talk to him, not make a citizen's arrest. Now, Gregory McMichael is a former police officer. You would think he would know, okay, say citizen's arrest. Stop in the name of the law. You're under arrest. That's not what they said. I want to go to this clip here. We're going to clip for Jalen. This is from Making the Case with Yodit Tawald on the Black News Channel. She spoke with veteran prosecutor Paul Henderson and a defense attorney about the opening statements. Okay, let's go to this clip, Jalen.
Travis McMichael and William Roddy Bryan, all charged with the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, a 25-year-old black man. Arbery was shot and killed in February 2020 as he was jogging down a residential street after being chased by the defendants. BNC's Drake Clark is in Brunswick with the latest.
It was a long day for jurors who had to sit and listen to several opening statements, but the more emotional time was when they saw video of Ahmaud Arbery just minutes after he was shot and killed, his body lying in the middle of the street covered in blood. Prosecutors maintained that the three defendants wrongfully assumed that Ahmaud Arbery was a dangerous burglar, while on the other side, the defendants say they acted in self-defense. Linda Dunikowski told jurors Ahmaud Arbery was under attack when he was shot and killed February 2020. She told jurors the defendants, Greg and Travis McMichael, along with William Bryan, assumed the worst about Arbery when they saw him running through their neighborhood. She said they chased Arbery for 5 minutes, eventually trapping him with their pickup trucks.
How do you know this was an attack on Mr. Arbery? His Travis Michael said it perfectly. Mr. Arbery was trapped like a rat.
And then she said Travis McMichael shot and killed Arbery with a 12-gauge shotgun. The entire shooting captured on cell phone video.
Stand by.
Arbery's mother cried out loud, seeing the entire video of her son's death for the first time in court.
I thought it was time to get familiar with what happened to Ahmaud. I'm the last minutes of his life, so I'm glad I was able to stay strong and stay in there.
Video of the shooting wasn't released until 3 months after it happened. Travis McMichael's lawyer told jurors he was protecting his family and the community going after Arbery. He said there had been a rash of burglaries in the neighborhood, and Arbery had been seen on security video late at night walking inside a home that was under construction. McMichael, he said, feared for his life when he pulled the trigger.
It's tragic. It's tragic that Ahmaud Arbery lost his life. But at that point, Travis McMichael is acting in self-defense.
Gregory McMichael's lawyer said when he saw Arbery running, he immediately knew it was the neighborhood burglary suspect, and the retired law enforcement officer was going to make a citizen's arrest. William Bryan joined the chase, and investigators say knocked Arbery into a ditch with his truck. All three men have pleaded not guilty to all charges, including murder. But if they're convicted, they could spend the rest of their lives in prison. Prosecutors say although Ahmaud Arbery had been seen on security video several times walking around inside that home that was still under construction, they say the homeowner never reported anything being stolen from the home. And that's why they maintain the defendants wrongfully assumed that Ahmaud Arbery was a suspect or even armed and dangerous. In Brunswick, Georgia, I'm Drake Clark for Making the Case.
Tonight, my legal panel of experts are ready to weigh in on day one of the guilt-innocence phase of this trial. We've got veteran prosecutor and BNC's legal contributor Paul Henderson and criminal defense attorney Daryl Exum. Counselors, great having both of you on tonight, but there's a lot to cover, so I'd like to get right into it. Opening statements. This is an opportunity, right, for lawyers on both sides to draw the jury's attention to evidence they expect to introduce. They're introducing their theories of the case and point out the gaps in evidence. So how both sides address the jury in opening statements sets a tone for their respective cases. The state goes first. They have the burden of proof. So lead prosecutor Linda Dunikowski, she started off by describing the events of February 23rd, both before and after Ahmaud was killed. Take a listen.
Mr. Arbery ran away from them for 5 minutes, up and down Burford. Then 4 times Mr. Bryan tried to hit him with his pickup truck. How do you know this was an attack on Mr. Arbery? His Travis Michael said it perfectly. Mr. Arbery was trapped like a rat, as we told the police.
Paul, we all knew what the defense was going to say in their opening statement, and obviously so did the prosecution. So right out the gate, Ms. Dunikowski tries to take steam out of any self-defense claims by telling the jury it was Ahmaud who was under attack. Was this the most effective way for the prosecution to start?
I think it was effective. I would have questioned and challenged the delivery a little bit had it been one of my lawyers or in my case. I always want to see more emotion, specifically in a case like this, to make sure that they convey that they really understand, that they really make the point. And that, to me, is where, it makes the difference, I think, in influencing jurors who are paying attention to understand how the advocates understand the evidence. And so to the degree that the defendant in this case has said that the victim was trapped like a rat, I would have emphasized that a little bit more. I would have made sure that they understood, knew, and drew the connection on how significant it was that he made that statement, specifically to counteract the defense's presentation that they were going to bring about it being self-defense, which is what we had already anticipated based on the charges and based on what the defendants had already said in their statement.
Daryl, your thoughts?
Okay, we're coming up here on the break. Just back it up about 20, 30 seconds, Jalen. We're coming up on the break. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Also, I'm going to share this other segment from Roland Martin Unfiltered where I connected the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that passed in March 2021 with no help from Republicans. I connected that to Terry McAuliffe's loss for the governorship in Virginia, who is the former Democratic governor of Virginia. We'll deal with that on the other side of the break. We'll talk a little bit about The Harder They Fall, also the Black Western that is on Netflix. The African History Network show on Michael Imhotep, 9:10 a.m. Superstation, WFDF. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. All right, how's everybody doing? Stand by, back from break in 4 minutes. Okay, this is stand by, everybody. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute.
910, the Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 7th, 2021, and we are live. Calling number 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the calling number. So right before the break, we were talking more about opening statements in the Michael's Bryan trial. It's not the Ahmaud Arbery trial. Ahmaud Arbery is not on trial. It's the Michael's Bryan trial. The three white men who were on trial for killing Ahmaud Arbery. So we're talking about opening statements that took place November 5th, 2021. I want to go back to this clip here from making the case, Dita Wold on the Black News Channel. And we're going to the defense attorney. We heard from Paul Henderson at first, former prosecutor. Now we're getting input from the defense attorney who's on her panel. Let's go back to the clip, Jalen.
Specifically, to counteract the defense's presentation that they were going to bring about it being self-defense, which is what we had already anticipated based on the charges and based on what the defendants had already said in their statement.
Daryl, your thoughts?
I guess the prosecution, I thought, did a pretty good job, in my opinion, in terms of how they countered the defense. But I think that what really struck me in this case is that how the prosecution really didn't, to Paul's credit, and I agree with them, they really didn't give an emotional sort of position. I mean, this is one of the biggest cases sort of in recent memory. And what happened in this case was a man thought he was going to get killed, and he was killed. And I just didn't hear that from the prosecution. And it made me just a little uneasy.
Well, you know what else I noticed too, and I'm always looking for this with the prosecution's case, is to have a photo of the victim, right, in order to humanize them, because they're going to play some really, they're going to play this video that obviously, shows his tragic killing. But when you have this description of by the defense that this, that they trapped a rat, you have visuals of him bleeding. It's nice to actually have a visual of just to humanize him. And so I think that that's a missed opportunity as well on the part of the prosecution. All right, another key moment in the prosecution's opening statements came when they introduced the most powerful piece of evidence they have against these defendants, courtesy of Mr. William Bryan, the video recording of Ahmaud's killing that everyone has watched at least once before this trial began, some of the jurors included. However, this time the prosecutor paused the video periodically to walk the jury through exactly what they were seeing. Here's a portion of that moment now.
Mr. Arbery is under attack by all three of these men. He's under attack. Because that doesn't stop Mr. Bryan when he went into the ditch. Mr. Bryan tried to hit Mr. Arbery 1, 2, 3, 4 different times with his pickup truck. 4 different times with his pickup truck. Mr. Arbery is under attack.
Daryl, when there's evidence in the form of a video that prosecutors can take frame by frame along with a narration, burning into the minds of these jurors the most damning parts for the defense, it's hard to recover. Clearly an effective strategy on the part of the prosecution by introducing the video this early on in the trial, but knowing it'll be played several more times throughout the state's case, how does the defense take the sting out?
The best thing that the defense can do in a case like that where there is a video is themselves to present an alternate view of the video in opening statement. And I think that was, listen, if you look at it from a defense perspective, the defense seems to be, they seem to be drowning early on because they're not attacking the evidence as it sits. I mean, the video is the most damning evidence. And from a defense perspective, they should have played it and explained it in a way that countered the way the prosecution was doing it. Because otherwise, I mean, the interesting thing about this case is not about the law stands your ground. This case is about vigilantism and what vigilantes do. That's what this case is about. And the prosecution seems to get that, but I don't get the distinct opinion that the defense seems to get that.
Okay, pause it right there, Jalen. Okay, pause it right there. Okay, that was defense attorney Daryl Exum, who was speaking with Yodit Tawald on Friday, November 5th, the Black News Channel making the case, and prosecutor Paul Henderson giving their legal analysis of the opening statements. Okay, so Yodit has a really, really good show. I interviewed her back, I think it was 2016 when I used to guest host Roland Martin's nationally syndicated radio show. I interviewed Yodit Tawald. So she's a brilliant attorney. Okay, I wanted to go to, we're going to go to clip 2. We're going to go to clip 2, Jalen. So Friday, we discussed the jobs report, the October jobs report. And we saw 531,000 jobs created. Washington Post has a good article on this. 531 jobs created. Unemployment rate dropped to 4.6%. It was 4.8%. African American unemployment rate basically stayed, I think it was about 7.6%. Analysts expected 450,000 new jobs created. It was actually 513,000 that were created. And we saw that 251,000 women re-entered the workforce as well. Okay, so this helped the numbers also. Roland spoke with Dr. Cecilia Rouse. Dr. Cecilia Rouse is the is the head of the economic advisors for the Biden administration, African-American woman, brilliant economist. He interviewed her on Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered, and then we went to the panel discussion. And I connected all of this to the losses to Terry McAuliffe losing in the governor's race in Georgia and poor messaging from the Democrats also. Let's go to clip 2, Jalen.
And even elections beyond that.
I don't understand, Michael. It's not actually that hard. It's really not. But the thing is, you have to be willing to actually flood the zone. You have to be willing to put out memes and things along those lines. You know, look, I've been tweeting all today trying to figure out, I'm sorry, Jamie Harrison, the Democrat, where are your viral videos? Where are they? Right. I went to their pages and they don't exist. They don't exist. And so I don't understand what they're doing. I'm sitting here looking on social media and I'm going, all right, I don't see any videos driving the issue of the economy. And I'm going, oh, so y'all just going to just let it flow? I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, Roland, this is related to why Governor Terry McAuliffe lost, former Governor Terry McAuliffe, why he lost in Virginia. Back on Friday, October 15th, I was on your show along with Kelly 3 weeks ago, and we talked about the governor's race. We talked about how, and one of the things I said was they should be running on the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that had cut child poverty in half, that had money for HBCUs, are taking money, over 20 HBCUs use money from the American Rescue Plan and paid off student debt. You had another round of stimulus checks. You had PPP money for businesses. There was money for schools, so schools could get better ventilation, so schools could reopen. That was a transformative bill. Okay, Terry McAuliffe said he was putting pressure on the White House and Congress to pass the infrastructure bill so he can run on that. But you got a $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that no Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for. You should have been hammering the hell out of them on that. But see, so it's a huge messaging problem. Okay, maybe they need to get more brothers like maybe they need to get more signals working for them or something like Ray and myself. I don't know, but it's a huge problem. It's a huge messaging problem. So, and then when we look here and we look at the human infrastructure bill, okay, instead of, and many people have been saying, well, look, instead of you keep talking about how much it is, why don't you talk about and educate people on what's in the bill? Lastly, Roland, another huge messaging problem. The American Rescue Plan was the third coronavirus bill, okay? It was passed in early March 2021, less than 2 months after Benedict Donald was evicted from the White House, okay? A lot of people don't associate this bill with Democrats because there were other coronavirus bills. This bill extended the federal unemployment insurance for a number of months. It reduced it down to $300 a month thanks to Joe Manchin, but they still got it. They still got $1,200 a month. You have to brand this. You have to own it. No Republicans in the House or Senate voted for this bill, so you have to separate this from what was done under Trump to let people know this is why you're getting the deposits in your bank account each month.
Okay, we're going to pause it right there. We'll continue that on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 4 minutes. All right, if you like this type of information, also you can support the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 7th, 2021. And we are live. Okay, right before the break, I was sharing an excerpt from Friday, November 5th, when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And we were talking about the October jobs report. 531,000 jobs created. Roland spoke with Dr. Cecilia Rouse, who is the chief economic advisor, head of the economic advisors for the Biden administration. Brilliant African-American female economist. And he went to his panel, and I was connecting the jobs report and lack of messaging from many Democrats, poor messaging from many Democrats, connecting that to Terry McAuliffe's loss in the Georgia governor's race, losing to Glenn Youngkin. Okay, let's go back to that clip, Jalen.
And cutting childhood poverty in half. This is why there's money for HBCUs. You have to brand this, and there's a huge messaging issue.
Yep, that's exactly that. And so I don't understand it, but guess what? They better focus on it, because if they don't change their messaging, it's going to be a wipeout the 2022 midterm elections. Folks got to go to a break. We come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Pause right there. All right. Check out the article from the Washington Post as well. Washington Post is a good piece on the unemployment numbers. U.S. economy added 531,000 in October as hiring swelled. The Labor Department report comes after weaker than expected data in August and September. Now, all of this was before Democrats passed the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill in the House of Representatives that happened late Friday. Okay, we'll talk about that on Monday's show, because now Terry McAuliffe I know when they passed that bill, Terry McAuliffe was just cussing up a storm, because he was begging them to pass that bill before the Tuesday, November 2nd election, so he could run on that. Now, he was a terrible candidate. He was a poor candidate, had a weak message, didn't reach out to Douglas Wilder, the first African-American governor of Virginia, didn't reach out to him to speak and tap into the African-American community, didn't reach out to Reverend Jesse Jackson. Terry McAuliffe just ran a terrible campaign, but even though he ran a terrible campaign, if he had ran on the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, he probably would have won, and explained to people how it was helping them, and explained to people the only reason why that bill passed is because Democrats wrote the bill and they were the only ones that voted for the bill, because all the Republicans voted against the bill. All right, so check that out from the Washington Post. Okay, I want to go to this next. Let's see here. Mississippi State Constitution. We'll talk about that. Well, we talked about that earlier in the week. You know, November 1st, 1890. We've dealt with this a number of times here on the show. But November 1st, 1890 was the anniversary of the Mississippi State Constitution being passed. Okay, the Mississippi State Constitution instituted poll taxes and literacy tests to suppress the African-American vote in a state that had a majority African-American population. It was called the Mississippi Plan. It was a plan that was adopted by other southern states like South Carolina, in Florida, in Georgia. Zen Education Project has a piece on this. We'll look at this quickly here. November 1st, 1890, Mississippi State Constitution. On November 1st, 1890, Mississippi adopted a new state constitution with a poll tax and arbitrary literacy tests for voting, sections designed to disenfranchise newly franchised African Americans and some poor whites. Okay, it's designed to disenfranchise African Americans who gained the right to vote because of the 15th Amendment, and also it hurt poor whites as well, some poor whites also. Now, there's a big article from the Washington Post that deals with the Mississippi Plan, and we came here to exclude the Negro. And we've talked about that a number of times here on the show as well. This right here deals with when it actually went into effect. And let me change this here. Okay. November 1st, 1890. And what we're going to see now, this is after Reconstruction ends in 1877. And we're going to see a reversal and an attack on the rights of African Americans. All right, just 1 second. Where are we here? Let's pull this up. Okay, now the new Constitution was a nail in the coffin for Mississippi Reconstruction, and a win for voter suppression. It brought an end to the period of democratic progress that followed the Civil War, when African Americans were the majority of eligible voters in Mississippi. In the piece, 5 Myths About Reconstruction, Dr. James Loewen, historian who just passed away a few months ago, and he wrote the book Lies My Teacher Told Me. James Loewen explains that Mississippi set a precedent for the rest of the South. This was particularly true after the unanimous U.S. Supreme Court vote or Supreme Court decision on April 25th, 1898, upholding Mississippi's claim that their constitution was not discriminatory in the U.S. Supreme Court case of Williams versus Mississippi. Now, we talk about this in the online class I teach on Saturdays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968, because we look at those methods that were used by these former Confederate states to suppress the African American vote, rewrite the state constitutions. And actually, November 5th is the anniversary of Alabama rewriting their state constitution. We're going to talk about that on Monday's show. Alabama did that in 1901. So Williams versus Mississippi was a landmark Supreme Court case, and the U.S. Supreme Court ruled it was not unconstitutional to put these barriers in the way of the 15th Amendment. Quote, every Southern state instituted literacy tests and poll taxes to effectively remove African Americans from the citizenship they were supposed to have been guaranteed by the 14th Amendment, end quote. This can be seen in the state constitutions, with similar voter suppression statutes adopted by South Carolina in 1895, Louisiana in 1898, North Carolina in 1900, Alabama in 1901, which we'll talk about on tomorrow's show, the Alabama State Constitution in 1901, Virginia in 1901, Georgia in 1908, Oklahoma in 1910, and more. And these states are rewriting their state constitutions after Reconstruction ends to suppress the African American vote, lock us out of voting, and lock us out of political power, because there were about 2,000 African American elected officials that got elected during Reconstruction. Now, voter suppression remains an issue in the 21st century. Laws passed in the 1960s to put a check on states with a history of voting restrictions, like Mississippi's 1890 Constitution, were rolled back in this decade by the Supreme Court and the Department of Justice. Activists, including faith leaders and students, continue to fight for the right of all U.S. residents to vote in state and federal elections. We know Shelby County versus Holder, U.S. Supreme Court case 2013, struck down Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act that dealt with the oversight. The Voting Rights Act of 65 was needed because of what happened in 1890 in Mississippi at the state constitution, in the state convention in Mississippi. This is why you needed a 1965 Voting Rights Act, because of what happened in Mississippi in 1890, and it was adopted by these other southern states. Okay, so we see how oftentimes we think this was a long time ago, 1890. No, it wasn't. it's not a long time ago. If you watch the TV show The Jeffersons, and I was watching the Jeffersons marathon last night on TV1 while I was doing some work. You watch the Jeffersons and you see Zara Cully, who portrayed veteran actress Zara Cully, who portrayed Mother Jefferson. Okay, we all remember Zara Cully. She and Mother Jefferson didn't like Louise. Well, Zara Cully dies in 1978. Okay, and they wrote it into the script. Zara Cully was born in 1892. Okay, Zara Cully was born 2 years after the Mississippi State Convention of 1890. She was born 3 years before Frederick Douglass died. Frederick Douglass dies in 1895. Zara Cully was born in 1892. Mother Jefferson, on the Jefferson. She was born 27 years after the Civil War ended, 27 years after slavery ended. This stuff is not that long ago. Okay, so when you see Mother Jefferson on the Jeffersons, you're looking at a woman who was born 2 years after the Mississippi State Convention voted to suppress the African-American vote in a state where African-Americans were the majority population. We're coming up on a break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. How's everybody doing? Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by, everybody. All right. Who still needs to register for the class I teach on Saturdays from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968? All right, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have your Kwanzaa supplies there. We have the Kwanzaa shop right at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Get your kanaras, your candle holders, mats, flags, and more. Add the early bird discount code for $10 off before November 28th. It's right here at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, right on the home page. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 7th, 2021, and we're live. All right, so very quickly here, and we'll talk about this some more tomorrow's show. So a lot of people, I was looking on social media, looking at different articles, a lot of people are talking about the Netflix movie, The Harder They Fall, starring Idris Elba and Regina King. It's a African-American Western, and it also portrays some real life historic figures. Okay. When we look at the synopsis of the movie, and I'm looking at imdb.com, when an outlaw discovers his enemy is being released from prison, he reunites his gang to seek revenge in this Western. So it's like an African American Western. Okay. And you have portrayed real life African American figures from the Old West, Stagecoach Mary, and you have Bass Reeves, who was the legendary lawman. You have Nate Love. So it's I've heard a lot of good things about the film. Now, when outlaw Nate Love discovers that his enemy Rufus Buck is being released from prison, he rounds up his gang to track Rufus Buck down and seek revenge. Those riding with him in this assured, righteously new school Western include his former love, Stagecoach Mary, and Stagecoach Mary was dark skinned. They got this woman looks like she's a very light skinned woman portraying Stagecoach Mary. So there was a lot of backlash on that. Okay. His right and left hand men, hot tempered Bill Pickett and fast drawing Jim Beckworth, and a surprising adversary turned ally. Now Rufus Buck has his own fearsome crew, including treacherous Trudy Smith. Trudy Smith is played by Regina King, if I remember correctly here, and Cherokee Bill. And they are not a group that knows how to lose. Now, the Nate Love gang are effectively reunited when they ambush the Buck gang and steal their ill-gotten gains from a bank job. Outlaw Nate Love saddles up with his gang to take down enemy Rufus Buck, leader of the Buck gang, who just got pardoned and released from jail. This brings them into a confrontation that was always going to happen, given Nate Love's need for payback and Buck's guilt. So now this reminds me of African American Westerns like Buck and the Preacher. Man, we talk about Buck and the Preacher in my class because that takes place in the mid to late 1860s after the Civil War ends. Buck and the Preacher. And it's a wagon train of African Americans going into Kansas. They're going into Kansas. They have to pass through Native American land, and they're looking for a better way of life. They want to own land, things like this. Okay. And this is going to happen in 1879. It's called the Black Exodus or the Exodus. And African Americans were leaving Louisiana and Texas and going into Kansas. There's going to be about 6,000 of them that go into Kansas in 1879. This reminds me of movies like Posse, okay? And Posse starring Melvin Van Peebles, Mario Van Peebles, Sally Richardson, fine Sally Richardson. That takes place in 1898 during the Spanish-American War. Okay, when Cuba is fighting against Spain for its independence, and you see these African American men, they're deserters in the army, and they're fighting in the Spanish-American War. And we see a historical context with Jim Crow laws and grandfather clauses, things like this. And you see white people trying to take over an African American township as well. We see this depicted in the movie Posse. Now, in this particular film here, The Harder They Fall, there's a good piece from the LA Times. There's a good article from the LA Times. These are the real life figures that inspired Netflix's The Harder They Fall. These are the real life figures that inspired Netflix's The Harder They Fall. Okay. Now, with any of these movies, and I'm not a big fan of movies that necessarily deal with history. I prefer documentaries because they're more historically accurate. But movies that deal with history can serve its purpose. They can teach people some aspects about a history they didn't know existed, that causes them to go and read books, causes them to go read articles that are historic, to give them the actual correct history. All right. James Samuel's revisionist Western, The Harder They Fall, assembles an all-star cast of both actors and legendary Black Western figures from across time for a fictional story about two rival gangs, the Nate Love and Rufus Buck gangs. And, about 1/3 of the cowboys during the Old West were African American. About 1/3 of them were African American. The term cowboy originally was a negative term. It was a derogatory term for African American cattlemen. We know that white men were called cowhands or cattlemen, whereas African American men, they were referred to as cowboys. They were called boys in a derogatory term. All right. But over time, cowboy just became associated with all of them. All right. And it's commonplace now. It's not looked at as a derogatory term. This movie kind of reminds me of the Lone Ranger and the origins of the Lone Ranger, who was a Texas Ranger. And he was with a group of Rangers who were tracking the Butch Cavendish gang, and the Rangers get ambushed, and John Reed, I think was his name. John Reed was the only survivor of this ambush, so he's called the Lone Ranger, Lone, the Lone Ranger. This is where the name comes from, the Lone Ranger. And Bass Reeves, who's depicted in the film, Bass Reeves is believed to be the real life person, the real life lawman that the fictitious Lone Ranger is based upon. We'll talk about that more tomorrow night's show. This is Idris Elba, who portrays Rufus Buck. And Rufus Buck is of Black and Creek Indian descent. Outlaw Rufus Buck led the Rufus Buck gang, which rose to prominence in summer 1895. That July, Buck, just 18 years old, and his 4 associates went on a crime spree preying on local white settlers, Creek Indians, and African Americans alike. And as we talked about on our show Monday, we know that there's an effort, and Representative Maxine Waters is helping descendants of Black freedmen who were members of the Creek Indian Nation after the Civil War ended, because we know Creek Indians also own African American slaves, just like the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians. There's an effort for them to gain their citizenship back in the Creek Indian Nation and gain their land that was taken away, etc. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching for a few more minutes. Right now, it's correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. All right, everybody. Okay, hey, if you like this type of information, you support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show, and also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We're here 6 days a week. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. And then African American business owners, email us at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Current promotion, we have a couple more spots left. Current promotion is buy 1 month, get 2 months free. So we take your 30-second and 60-second commercial and put it into the audio podcast of our shows. And also we're on 10 different audio podcast platforms as well. We put your 30-second, 60-second commercial into the rebroadcast of our shows that we rebroadcast throughout the day. on our social media platforms, but they'll also be in audio podcast format. We're on 10 different audio podcast platforms as well: iTunes, Castbox, Acast, FM Player, iHeartRadio. We'll post a link here. African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. All right. And email us at ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com, ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com to advertise with the African History Network. All right, be sure to register for the online courses I teach on the weekend, on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And we look at history leading up to the Civil War, starting with the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. This is a 10-week online course. Each class we go through and analyze about a 10-year period of history. And we look at the Civil War and Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877. What happens to us after slavery ended? What are the laws and policies put in place to put us in the predicament we're in right now? We look at the Jim Crow era, World War I, World War II, we look at the Great Migration, Civil Rights Movement, the Black Power Movement. And then also on Sundays, I teach 12 noon to 2 p.m. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school, ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. We deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. But with both of these classes, we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime. You can go back and watch them anytime. You still have access to the full class even after the class is over with. You can watch from around the world. Click right here on register here. Takes you to the next page. You can enroll in the classes. Understanding transatlantic slave trade is on sale, $80. And from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Power is on sale, $70. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. Thanks for tuning in.